Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to our beautiful JNForever family Zoom meeting that we do every week. We are back again this week to make sure that you're all happy and inspired and well, and that you feel supported and encouraged, and that you're all staying positive over these tough times. And I'm sure you're all doing okay. Can I get a thumbs up? Everybody doing all right? Yes? Good. So the in-house rules, I think you're all aware of. The administrator has everybody on mute, and we will unmute at the end so that people can ask questions, or as you raise your hand, we'll unmute you individually so you can ask questions. We will do that at the end for both speakers. For those of you who don't know me, and for those of you who do, I'm Jackie Chait. I'm the Legacy Manager for JNF Victoria. And leaving a bequest in one's will is a wonderful, benevolent thing to do for yourself for generations to come. And I'm always available for confidential chat anytime, any place, well, after lockdown. As the focus of these events, for me, I've tried to do sort of a holistic approach whereby we mix it up. We get, different speakers on different aspects. And I thought it was quite important this week that we focus more on the physical aspect of our well-being, because that's certainly been, a struggle to maintain a healthy lifestyle under these physical constraints and time constraints. And then the obvious domino effect of being more sedentary and comfort food. So I thought to ensure that we don't all come out of lockdown on the outside looking like Teletubbies, we have the privilege today of hearing two expert practitioners in their fields. We will have Mark address us first, followed by Lisa, and then we will have questions at the end, and you can just say who you wish the question to be for. So first of all, Mark. Mark Surdut is an accredited practicing dietitian, nutritionist, and member of Dietitians Australia. He completed a postgraduate Bachelor of Science in Medicine with honors in nutrition and dietetics. He said sometime in the last century, which I don't believe. You're not that old, come on. And then he began his dietetic and nutrition career in the UK. In 2001, Mark moved to Adelaide to take up a senior position with the Royal Adelaide Hospital. Subsequently, he accepted a clinical dietitian position at the Royal Melbourne Hospital, followed by many years at Cabrini. He now runs a private practice in North Caulfield. A male dietitian is a rare breed indeed. Mark is passionate about nutrition. He is a popular speaker and presenter to business organizations and contributes to a wide range of publications, and has also featured on numerous national TV shows. Over to you, Mark.
Thanks, Jackie. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me loud and clear. Lovely, thank you. Jackie and JNF, thanks for having me deliver a few thoughts, and it's lovely to see such a big turnout and a nice mix as well. Usually when I present, I often get to comment. Those of you that have heard me present before, I often get to comment on the catering, the events catering, which is a nice icebreaker. And then came COVID-19 and COVID-20 and turned me into a double D, a digital dietitian. I believe you had a real star present at your gala event, which I think was just a couple of nights ago, if I'm not mistaken. Seinfeld's comedian Jason Alexander. I believe he was incredibly funny, but you ain't heard nothing yet. I've always found the American accent, just by way of introduction, I've always found the American accent in comedy to be very, very funny to listen to. But the South African accent, yeah. I heard my wife just telling a friend actually the other day. We'll start with a small joke just to break the ice. I heard my wife telling a friend the other day. She said, my hubby's been a little bit funny of late. So there you go. Now, on the serious side, this talk is just one little introductory comment. This talk reflects my my views and my professional experience, we need to all recognize that nutrition is, number one, nutrition is very controversial. And number two, individuals' needs vary, and individuals' needs vary very, very significantly. Also, maybe by way of introduction, those of you that aren't familiar with what a dietitian is, I guess one way to describe ourselves is like this. A dietitian is like a sieve, right? A dietitian filters out for the individual, at an individual level, filters the information that's relevant, that someone needs to know to facilitate a certain change, for instance, and filters out the information that one doesn't need to know, right? There's a huge amount of information out there. Now, with that in mind, that
Sorry,
there's
Mark,
a huge amount of...
I've been asked if you can speak up
Yes.
a little bit, so closer to the...
Absolutely, I will try. How does that sound, Jackie? Is that a little bit better? I hope so. Okay. Otherwise, tell us to work. I'll try to lift my voice a little bit. As I mentioned, there's a lot of information out there. I'm going to try what we're going to do this afternoon is a crash course in nutrition for healthy insides. I'm going to talk about 7 principles. I'm going to touch on 7 keys or 7 principles. I picked out 7. This is very, very hard to narrow nutrition or healthy eating down to 7 principles, but these are my critical universal keys. And then, Jackie, you said you'll be able to open things up for questions later. And we can maybe answer anything else people want to chat about. Let's go through the 7. Number 1. This is one of my favorites. Listen to this. It's very important. Hydrate your body with H2O and feed your body with food. Let me say it again. Hydrate your body with H2O, right, with water, and feed your body with food. In other words, don't drink your calories. This is one of the keys, and one of the keys to weight management. So many people I find drink juices, flavored milks, energy drinks, sports drinks. It's amazing that some people still consume soft drinks. And we try and encourage people to get their calories rather from solid food and to hydrate with water. Now, water doesn't just mean water. It could be teas, unsweetened teas, herbal teas, regular teas, powerful sources of antioxidants, mineral water, vegetable juices, clear soups, right? There's a number of different ways to hydrate. Now, it's important to note there is an exception to this rule. If you're not trying to lose weight, but you're trying to gain weight, or if you've got a leg of the Tour de France that you're going to be cycling tomorrow, the advice might be the opposite, right? You might need to consume a huge amount of calories, much larger amount of calories, and you might need to get some of those calories in the liquid form. But as a general rule, we separate calories is something that you eat, and hydration is done through water. Okay, now with every point, I'm going to try to give you a practical take-home message tip. So the tip here is that, you know what, it doesn't matter. People often ask, how much should I drink a day? Is it 2 liters or 4 liters? I can't remember what the doctor said. Now, it's not really important. What's important is that you distribute your liquid intake throughout the day, right? That you're hydrating throughout the day. Very important for the gut, very important for the brain, very important to be energized, that things are distributed across the day. That's number 1. Number 2, reduce the HI factor of your foods. Now, some of you might not be familiar with the HI factor that you want to reduce. HI stands for human interference. You want to reduce the human interference factor of your foods. This is a lovely term that was coined by a fairly well-known celebrity Australian GP that some of you might know, Dr. John Tickell. He coined this HI factor, and it means essentially that you want to focus on less processed foods. I'm sure you're all aware of this, less processed foods and more whole foods. But let me give you a practical tip. Foods with fewer ingredients, if there's a shorter list of ingredients, the food is most likely to have a lower HI factors. In other words, it's more likely to be unprocessed or less processed and better for you if the list of ingredients is shorter. And of course, by legislation, ingredients are listed in descending order. I'm sure most of you know this. Therefore, the first few ingredients, that's what you want to look at. You want to look at the first few ingredients and those first, say, 3 ingredients need to be healthy sounding ingredients as well. Let's move to number 3. And number 3 is to ensure that you're focusing on vegetables. Vegetables are our primary source of disease preventing wonderful antioxidants, as well as fiber, right? Fiber is very, very important for gut motility, for things to be moving at a normal rate throughout the digestive tract. But don't forget, vegetables are a powerful source of antioxidants. And the tip over here, again, practical tip over here, is to focus more on above the ground vegetables. Now, above the ground vegetables, as opposed to the root vegetables, above the ground vegetables tend to be much lower they're rich in nutrients, but they're lower in sugar content. Very important to differentiate between starchy, high carbohydrate, high sugar vegetables like corn and pumpkin, cooked carrot as well, and others, parsnip, etc. And above ground vegetables, I'm sure you can think of many, right? Bok choy, spinach, zucchini, capsicum, etc. Cauliflower, broccoli, and the list goes on. Those lower carbohydrate vegetables should always be focused on. That's tip number 1 with vegetables. Tip number 2 with vegetables is if you're not having cups of vegetables in a day, I'll say it again, if you're not having cups of vegetables in a day, you're probably not getting in enough. Now, number 4 is an obvious one, but it needs to be mentioned. Keep your sugar intake low. And here's a tip. Manufacturers of food products, not always, but generally, are out there to trick you. You need to learn that sugar, you need to learn the sugar synonyms. You need to appreciate that sugar is often called something else, but it's effectively the same thing. You can't always look for the word sugar as an ingredient. You also need to look for words like glucose, dextrose, rice syrup. It's worthwhile looking this up. Point number 5 is to move away from a focus on calories. Please don't count calories. Move away from a focus of counting calories to a focus on nutrients. Start to think about rather nourishing your body, right? As opposed to trying to work out exactly how many calories we need, which, by the way, at best is always an educated guess, right? Always an educated guess. How many calories people should take. I know there's apps that talk about this amount and that amount. You need to appreciate it's about nutrition and nutrients and nourishing the body. It's not about measuring calories. Now, that's a separate talk which we can spend hours on. Number 6 is to ensure baseline protein. Protein is very important in the diet, and for a number of reasons, right? And it's not all because of muscle, right? We don't all need to have protein to develop. Take a look at my biceps, right? Very good. To develop muscle. Protein is critical for immune resilience, right? We're going through COVID. We need strong immune systems. Without protein in the diet, you don't have a functional immune system. It's critical. I started off my career, I'll tell you very, very quickly, I started off my career working with a form of malnutrition in Africa called kwashiorkor, which many Australians would never have heard of, right? And kwashiorkor is a deadly disease which affects children that essentially don't die directly of starvation. They die of infections, and they succumb to infections because they have no protein in their diet. And that's what kwashiorkor is. Protein is very important. Here's a tip. Try and make sure that you're having a source of protein a couple of times a day. All right? So if you're getting a source of protein, some eggs or some tofu or some fish or some meat or some legumes, lentils or some other beans, if you're having sources of protein a couple of times a day, the chances are you're doing fine. And the final point, point number 7, is moderation. Moderation is a very, very difficult word to understand, and it can be defined and explained in so many different ways, right? We're always talking about this principle of moderation. I'll tell you how I define moderation. Moderation means not aiming to get it perfect, right? Perfection is for the angels, perhaps, right? Not us mere mortals. We should not be aiming to get things perfect. Aiming to get it perfect is a sure sign of an eating disorder, by the way. And I want to just touch on a new eating disorder that some of you might be familiar with. If you heard of orthorexia, I can't hear you, but I'm assuming many of you have it. Orthorexia is a new eating disorder. It's an obsession with eating foods that one considers healthy. Let me give you the formal definition. A medical condition in which the sufferer systematically avoids specific foods that they believe to be harmful. Let me read this to you again. A medical condition in which the sufferer systematically avoids specific foods that they believe to be harmful. I have this theory that it's a function or consequence of Googling. I think it's Dr. Google's fault. We're inundated with abnormal loads of information of what's meant to be good for us. And what happens is some people actually take that too far. So the idea is an idea of moderation. And I'll leave you with a poem, and I'll finish with this. Hopefully I'm not doing too badly on time. I'll leave you with a poem. Jackie, have I got 1 more minute? Give me a thumbs up if it's okay. Thank you. Great. This is a poem that I came across many years ago. I think it was actually published in the British Medical Journal. This is one of my favorite poems. I bet you've never thought you'd have a dietitian reading you poetry on a Thursday afternoon, okay? And I lost this poem for many, many years, and I actually recently found it. And the author, I don't know who he is. I've looked him up. I can't find him. His name's David Krzyzewski. David Krzyzewski wrote this wonderful, wonderful poem, which takes us, which I think in some ways summarizes, it brings together all of these points that we discussed, especially the final point of not panicking to be perfect and appreciating that we need to focus rather on moderation, some of the other things I spoke about as well. It goes like this. Cholesterol is poisonous, so never, never eat it. Sugar too may murder you. There's no way to beat it. And fatty food may do you in. Be certain to avoid it. Some food was rich in vitamins, but processing destroyed it. Now I need everyone's attention. Listen carefully, and I'll repeat it. So let your life be ordered by each documented fact and die of malnutrition, but with your arteries intact. I'll say it again for those of you that didn't hear it. This is very important. So let your life be ordered by each documented fact and die of malnutrition, but with your arteries intact. And I'll leave you with that thought. And Jackie, thanks very much. And thank you everyone for your time. I look forward to questions at the end of maybe Lisa's session.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. I love that poem.
Good.
Okay, we will definitely have prayer. There are already a few questions that have come through, so we'll save those for the end. Okay, and now on to the amazing Lisa Carr. So in addition to being absolutely gorgeous, as you can see, Lisa has a BSc in physiotherapy and is a Pilates and rehabilitation specialist. She has been a physio for the past 25 years. I know it's hard to believe because she looks extremely young. And her experience is in multidisciplinary settings. She uses her insights and all what she has learned, all that she has learned, to assist people on a daily basis with shoulder, knee, and spinal issues. She is a firm believer that moving the body regularly helps to reduce stress, anxiety, aches, and pains. And she will be talking specifically about these issues that are affecting our bodies during lockdown and how we can actually counteract these problems. I would like to add that the lovely lady that Lisa will be utilizing as her model is none other than her beautiful mother, Judy Schmidt, who is about to turn 80 in a few weeks' time. And you will see her soon and you will not believe that she's about to turn 80. Over to you, Lisa.
Thank you, everybody. Lovely to meet you all. I'm so excited to be invited to your JNF group. I was quite nervous at first because I was like, Jax, I can't really give it that much advice to so many people at once. So I've had to really think about what you would want to know. And having a look at all of you, I've decided that you will be really inspired by my mom, who I'm inspired by, who's exercised her whole life. And because of that, she's got amazing motivation, she's got amazing balance, she's got amazing drive, and it really impacts the rest of her life just by exercising regularly. It's not even about doing something really tough or hard or trying to run a marathon. It's just regular exercise on a day-to-day basis. And so I'm really excited that I got my mom to be my model. She's living with me at the moment, but I think it'll really inspire you all to see what exercise actually does for you. I have, like Mark, worked in acute settings of the Alfred Hospital. In South Africa, I worked in hospitals and private practices. And I found myself now in a place of working in an exercise setting. That's because I use exercise to improve your well-being. And people often say, but do you do regular physio? And I'm saying that is what physio is. Physio is about making your body work the best it can for you, and whether that's using exercise, whether it's using manual therapy, I do a bit of that, but most of what I do is helping you move on a regular basis, independently and for yourself. It's really great to go and have a treatment by a physio, an osteo, whatever it is that you choose, but if you can manage some of your own pain with some of the tools that I give you today, or some of the stiffness that you've experienced, if you can do that by yourself as well, it really aids the situation and you're not just relying on somebody else to help you to feel better the whole time. So the main topic was, how has our bodies been affected during lockdown? Well, I was like, okay, well, I better ask everybody how they're feeling. So I sent out a group text to all my friends, and I sent a group text to people that I don't deal with on a daily basis. And I said, tell me, what's happened? What's going on? And everybody came back with this resounding new problem that they're experiencing. And everybody's taken up walking. And some of you might have walked your whole life, and you probably will say, well, no, I've always walked and I'm a walker, so this hasn't happened to me. But the people that haven't walked and have decided now they've become walkers, unfortunately, a lot of them are experiencing back pain. And they don't even know why. They didn't know it was to do with that. They just said, I've been walking a lot, but I've got terrible back pain and my hips. And when we say hips, people get confused, but it's literally just all the way around your pelvis. And this is usually because we've taken up something we haven't done before and we're doing it a lot. And it's usually, what happens in that case is our tendons, as we get older, they don't regenerate as quickly. And you notice you get rotator cuff pain and you might get Achilles tendonitis. And what happens in the hips, all those muscles that attach onto your leg bones, those tendons become a little bit overused during this walking process. So a lot of people have now got bursitis, which means on the sides of your hips, you have pain, and then the muscles around your buttocks start to get really tight, and then it can cause a lot of back pain. Now, why? Walking should be easy and should be, why should walking cause problems? It's because it's extremely one-dimensional. All you do is move your legs forward and back, forward and back, forward and back all the time, okay? There's no side bending. There's no forward bending. There's no rotation, okay? And often the roads are just flat or cambered. So then your one leg's down at the side the whole time, and it can cause a lot of problems. You might say, no, this hasn't caused any problems for me, and that's great. But this is one of the ones that's come up the most for me. So what I am going to do is show you some ways to counteract that, because I don't want you to stop walking, because walking's great, but your body's not designed to just move in that pattern the whole time. God designed us with lateral flexion, with forward flexion, with rotation, and he wants us to move all parts of our body. So later on, when my mom comes up, I'm going to demonstrate some basic stretches. Now, I said to Jackie, I can't prescribe to 120 people something that's not going to interfere with their bodies. And hopefully all of this will be okay for you, but I need you to use your own discretion, just like Mark said, to decide what's right for you, okay? And if you can't get on the floor at your age now, you need to go see someone to help you to find a way that you can get up and down off the floor, because that's a major problem in getting, as you get older, if you feel like you're too scared to get down on the floor. A lot of people that come to see me in the practice where I work say, I haven't been on the floor for years. I'm like, well, that's a problem. You should be able to feel comfortable enough in your body and functional that you can get up and down off the floor. So most of the exercises I'm going to do are on the floor. However, if you have to do it on your bed, you can do it on your bed. It just won't be as effective, but you can do them on the bed. Okay. So let's start with those. Should we go with those? Okay, so this is my mom, Judy. Okay, she's going to stand over there. Stand on the mat, Mum. And we've got a light shining. This is my mom, Judy Schmidt. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to lie you down on the floor, Mum. Okay, there you see, she's 80 and she got down on the floor quite easily. All right, so we'll get you to lie on your side, Mum. Yeah, side lying. So you, first of all, you can do this in the bed, okay, but if you can get on a mat, that's great. Okay, so this is called an open book stretch. So turn on completely onto your side, right, and then you gently take the arm up and rotate back, making sure that your chest turns at the same time as your arm turning. So your arm just doesn't go without your chest turning, okay? So if you have a look here, her whole chest is moving in the same line as with her arm is, and her legs are staying still. This is all going to be recorded. So if you're finding that you won't be able to remember this, you can ask Jackie for the link or go onto the YouTube channel, I think she said afterwards, and have a look what we put there. So this really just helps with that stiffness in the lower back that you get from walking because you're not getting enough rotation. Okay, so that's called the open book stretch. Okay, that's number one. So you come back onto your back. And what I suggest usually is when you've been for a walk, when you get back, you do your stretches so that you counterbalance or counteract the repetitive motion of walking. The next one is you lie on your back, you open your legs wider than you would think, and then you're just rocking the legs over to one side. Can you see that? And then rocking back the other way. Good. So she's literally just rocking her knees side to side. This stretches all the ITB that comes down the side. Everyone's heard of their ITB getting stiff. And then the other way, and it just opens up this full channel down her leg over here, which gets very tight, and then the hips get sore. So this is just called knee rocking. I made it up. It's probably called something else, but it's knee rocking. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, good. Of course then, you turn over to the other side, turn over the other side, and you would do it on the other side as well. So open book stretch, the opening up, chest rotates, and then come back over. Now, if you've got a really bad shoulder, you need to be careful of maybe, stretching out too far. You just have to turn the shoulder. So you just have to turn the chest. So you would bend your elbow and turn the chest more, and that would really protect your shoulder, okay, if you've got a bad shoulder. Excellent. Right, now lying back onto your back, Judy, we're going to do pelvic tilting. Now, walking is very extension-based, which means you're upright and your back's in extension. We want to counteract that with some pelvic tilting action, okay? So you have to be aware, this is called a bridge, but it's an articulated bridge. So you're not just lifting your bum off the ground, you tuck your pelvis under and you roll up one vertebra at a time, and then you tuck and you roll down one vertebra at a time. That opens up each section of your spine individually, or as best as we can. Okay, so tuck and roll up, good. And it's not about getting super high, it's literally about moving the spine in sections, and then come back down again. Good. So you can think of it like a mat sequence when you get home from your walk, okay? Tuck and roll up. And it not only is good for your back and your hips, it's good for everything, okay? So you'll work your glutes, you'll work your hamstrings at the same time, and all the way down. Right, now we want to unwind those hips. So we take one leg over the other leg, and some of you might say, well, I can't do that. I'll give you an alternative, okay? And then you're going to grab this underneath leg and pull it up. Now, some people can't reach that far. You can always use a little elastic band or a towel to grab onto that area. Okay, so you can put a towel around and pull that leg up as far as you can. And that will stretch this underneath hip on this side. Okay, let's try it on the other side. Okay, pull it up. Excellent. So that's a really good stretch for this underneath leg. If you can't get the knee over this way, I'll show you the option in a seated position. Okay, I'll show it to you later. Now turn into 4-point kneeling. I've got a name for everything. Okay, so in 4-point kneeling. Now, if you've got really arthritic wrists or something, you might not be able to do this one, but I just want you to rock forward and back. It's not a lot of weight through those wrists. So just forward and back, just going forward and back. And this really opens up the lower spine there. Okay, you can also open your knees a little bit wider to get that stretch. Good. And just rocking forward and back, you'll see how much better you feel when you get home from that walk if you're very stiff and tight in the hips. Even if you've been sitting all day, it's the same thing. Okay, so that's that one. And the next one is my favorite. All of my clients who come to me know that it's my favorite because I make them do it all the time. And it's not for everyone, but I do need to show it because it's brilliant if you can do it. It's the downward dog. Okay, so tuck your toes under and press up with your knees and press your head. Let it go, Mom, let it go. Good, let it go. And you look at that beautiful position. Look at that beautiful position. I'm so proud of you. So she's 80 and she can do that. And her heels are pressing down and she's got that beautiful V and she's relaxing her head. It's just a reset. It's a really good reset. Literally, if you just did this sequence once through after your walk, I can almost guarantee you will feel so much better. Okay, bring down the knees. Okay, so I'm going to keep it simple and keep it at that sequence. There's about a million other things I could give you, but I'm not going to do them all today. This is now the one that's easier if you're sitting on a chair. Okay, so if you're at your desk and you can't get down on the floor, sit on the chair there, and you're sitting there and you put your one leg over the other, and you literally lean forward. And believe it or not, that gives a big stretch, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Really.
really good stretch there. Okay, so now she's going to stay seated here. I'm going to kneel like that. The next main issue that we felt is everybody's been looking at their computers way too much. And I don't know about your demographic that's on this group, but people who are working from home are not at meetings where they're turning and bending and looking at the person next to them. They're just looking straight ahead, right, at the computer screen. And they're usually looking like this, with that beautiful poking chin posture. So it's called the poking chin posture, where this chin is way back in front. So what you've got to remember, I know everyone says change your position, stand up, do something different, but I recommend just doing an actual exercise, just once or twice, so that you get out of that same position that you're sitting in. So the first one, which you're not going to like because it's pretty boring, but I'm going to give it to you anyway because it's important, is the chin tuck. So tuck your chin in, Mum. And you've got to look unattractive. That's the most important thing. Okay, so tuck your chin in and then release it and kind of exaggerate your chin tuck. And sit still. Oh. Just chin tuck, normal chin. Then tuck your chin in again, make a double chin, and you should feel like a real stiffness coming down the back of your neck as you do that. It's literally just a chin tuck, okay? So you're sitting there. Good. Now the next thing is you might need someone to help with this, or you can tie your band, and it's one of these bands, and you've got to get one. Everyone needs one of these. So you can use a normal elastic, or you can have the ones with handles, but I highly recommend, they're not expensive. You can get them for $9. I can get them for you if you want. If you want one, I can order them for you. It's just elastic with a handle. And I would recommend getting this for when you're sitting. You can sit at your desk and attach it to a door handle. You can get your husband to hold it for you. You can put it around a person. Look, I'll show you. Sit. This counteracts, what do we also do when we're sitting? Slouch, right? And everything at the front gets super tight. So we want to reverse that and we want to do a row. So show me a row. Good. Now can you see how my mom is pressing her chest out but also squeezing the back muscles there? And therefore we open the chest, but not only open the chest, we work the back muscles so that we can get two things at once. Okay, show me again. So what are we going to do with this band? You can put it around a tree, you can put it around a pillar in your house, you can put it around a person, you can put it around a door. There's no excuses. There's always a way. All right, let's go. So she's squeezing back her scapula, and that really helps to counteract that forward position. Plus, look at her beautiful chin posture. She's got her chin really tucked in nicely. Okay, so those are our three favorites for the seated posture problem. Okay, now the next thing is the motivation issue had come up a lot. I'm not sure if it's the same for you guys, but most of the people I spoke to said, what is the point of exercising? We can't even go out, we don't need to wear clothes that fit us, we wear tracksuit pants or whatever. So how do I get around the whole motivation problem? If I don't want to exercise, there's no reason to exercise, okay? Well, for me, this is my motivation. Seriously, do you want to be able to be functional? Do you want to be strong? Do you want to be independent as you're getting older? Do you want to be able to get on the floor and up without being scared? Because that's a huge motivator. Plus, if you've got grandchildren, you want to be able to get on the floor with your grandchildren, right? It's not all about looking skinny. It's about being functional. For me, it's about being functional. Okay, so this is a huge testimony to that. And if that's not enough for you, then I don't know. So exercise is not just about, getting out and looking thinner. It's about being functional through this. Plus, what does it do? It distracts you. It takes up an hour of our time in lockdown. And I would say join a group. I run Zoom classes. I'm not saying join my group. There's other things that would be probably suited to you better. But if you join a group, even a karate group or another group of exercises that are doing the same thing, even with a bunch of friends, and you all do it together, you will find that that's so much easier to stay motivated with that, okay? And it's at a specific time, schedule it. The last thing I'd like to say is walking or just cardiovascular exercise is not your only focus. Just like Mark said, he had 7 principles. In exercise, there's mobility, there's cardiovascular fitness, and there's strength. And a lot of people forget the strength part because they go, well, I can't squat, I've got bad knees, or I can't push up because I've got bad shoulders, or they've got a million reasons why they can't do anything. And if you read all the research, it literally just says exercise for all problems, okay? My husband's a surgeon, and he says exercise first, operate later, okay? So it doesn't matter who you are, if you can be strong, you'll come out of your operation better. Okay, so you can't have that knee joint replacement and expect things to go fine. If you're not strong beforehand, you're not going to come out of it good. So the strengthening stuff, you need to build up slowly, you need to have supervision if you've got issues, but you'll only get better and stronger. So I wanted to show you one of my most important things. I used to say to my dad was really strong and fit, he just passed away last year, but and he had his ways of exercising, but he used to kind of plop onto the couch, and I thought, Dad, that's not acceptable. You can't plop onto the couch as a karate man. He's like, oh, yes, Lisa, why am I doing that? I said, you've got to practice your squats. And he had bilateral hip joint replacements, and he had a revision, and he still practiced his squats, and then every time he sat on the couch, he sat down properly, okay? So important to be able to squat, and it's not for young people, it's not for CrossFitters and F45ers. Everybody has to be able to squat. And if you can't squat and your knees are sore, you need to go to someone that can teach you how to do it properly, because you're just doing it badly. So I'll give you a quick tip. Put your legs apart. Okay. There's a chair, and it can't be a low-lying chair. It's got to be a good chair. All right, so put your arms out, Mum, and stand up. All the way up. Good. And then back down. Beautiful. You see how she did that? So it looks pretty simple. You go, well, what's so great about that? But that's what a squat is. Okay, it's not bending your knees. It's sticking your butt back and then butt in. So let's go again. Reach your arms out, stand up, squeeze your bum, and then sit back down, and excellent. So that's a way of learning how to squat properly. Okay, if you don't know what to do, practice getting up from a chair. No hands, nothing like that. Just squeeze your butt in and squeeze your butt back. All right, now stand up again. And next level would be with your dining room chair. Okay, hold that. You've got to stand a good distance. My mom told me yesterday when I was practicing this, she said, no, you've got to stand a good distance away. She gives me instructions. Okay, so squat now is if you've got to hold on something and then come back up. Good. Did you see how her buttocks went back? Her knees, show me the wrong way to squat, Mum. Her knees didn't come forward over her toes, because that's when you're going to get sore knees, all right? So straight away, her buttocks was the first thing to move, and she's just using this for balance, okay? Yeah. And then come back up and engage your glutes. These are your engines. This is what gets you up, and this is what stops you from walking like this down the street. Okay? Stand up, engage your buttocks. Okay, so that now show us without either of those two things, a squat. Go. Beautiful. So that's the next level. Have a look, her knees are not coming over her toes, her knees are in line with her ankle, and her weight is in her heels. And as she comes up, what drives her up? Her glutes. Forget about the quads, they will work anyway. Okay, so this is what I want you to focus on, glutes and hamstring. If you focus on that, that'll help you to stand up straighter and walk better as well. Okay, now I could give you 5,000 more tips on all of these things, but you also, I get excited because there's so much that you could learn. But those are the main things that I really wanted to share with you today. And diversity, don't just do one sort of thing. It's good for your brain to challenge it. You say, I'm too old, I can't start something new, or whatever. What did you say, Mark? Can't teach a dog old new tricks, what? Old dog new tricks? I think you can. And I get a lot of people coming to see me for bone density health, for various things, and I make them do all sorts of ladder drills and things just to stimulate their brain. They might come in a foul mood and they leave in a really good mood. Okay, so do something different. Just don't injure yourselves. All right, Jax, how much more time?
No, even a few more minutes.
Okay. All right. So next thing that I wanted to show you here was, oh yes. Okay. So lying on your back, Jax, Mom. All right. So we talked about a bridge before with an articulated bridge. There's another form of bridge where you can literally put your feet up on a step if you want to. Okay. Or keep it down and just keep your hands by your side. Put your head down. Good. And just lift your hips straight up, all the way up there, and straight down, okay? Now this also is really good for keeping you upright and making sure your body is staying upright when you're walking, okay? So nice and strong bridge up, and down, and again up, and down. Have a look at how her body's in one piece there, okay, going up and down. Okay, two more, up, and down, and last one. Good. Okay, so that's just another strengthening move. Now, what about your abdominals? Okay, so if you have, let's for example have one leg up here and one leg up there. This is called the dead bug position. Okay, now most people can put themselves into this position, right? If you find it's too uncomfortable for you, you could put a little rolled up towel underneath your back and that would support you a little bit more from underneath there. Okay, now tapping one leg, could you keep your head down, tapping one leg down to the ground at a time is a really simple way of working the abdominals without hurting your neck, or some people are really scared about doing crunches because they think they're going to hurt their backs. This is a great way of doing that. And if you find that it's too uncomfortable, you can place a towel underneath there just to raise your hips a little bit, or a little pillow, and that will really help with working your abdominals there without straining your neck or anything like that. Now, I forgot about the next part. How much longer have I got, Jess? Before questions?
Probably just a minute.
A minute?
Yeah, a minute or two.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I was going to do some more rollers up, put your legs down. This thing over here is another tool that I would recommend having in your house. A lot of people are really scared about the roller. They've got one and then they've never gone on it because they're like, well, I don't know what to do with it. But it's almost like having your own personal massage person at home, so that when you do get home and you go, I'm in a pain, I've got to book an appointment to see physio, osteo, whatever it is. If you just do some of your own work on it, you can sometimes get through that pain, okay? So I actually had a whole lot of exercises to show you on this, but it's gone ahead of me. I'll show you one really important one, and that's if you're sitting at your desk all day with your shoulders forward, you're going to do the back extension one. So pop the roller directly underneath where your bra strap would go, or the middle of your back if you don't have a bra strap. Hands here. Very important to support your neck. Then your buttock stays down. Everyone wants to roll up and down on me, but I want your buttocks to stay down, and I want you to drop your back further back. Have a look at how it opens up your chest, and then come up, roll up. Good. So what we're doing here, it's almost like if you went to the physio and they mobilized your back. It's the same thing, okay? Go again, go over. And everybody always goes, oh, this feels so good. I'm like, well, why don't you do it by yourself, okay? whenever I give it to them, okay? Because then very seldom do we get into that beautiful extended position. We're always in this position. So we want to get into that opposite position as much as possible. I would say this would be my number one. Would you say that? She often goes on the rotor. Okay. So this would be my number one. And I'm going to show one more. Okay, so come up.
Please.
Go back. Oh, stop.
Please just do the last one as quickly as you can.
Yeah. Okay, this one's the last one. Okay. So this one is where, okay, I'll show you how you get into it. Sorry. Come back down. Come back down. Come off. No. Stay there. Lift your bum. Lift your bum. Put your legs down. Okay. This is how you get in. Lift your hips up and roll it underneath your pelvis. That's how you get in. That's how you safely get in. Don't do it any other way. Okay. You've got your roller directly under your pelvis and lift your legs up, Mum. That feels really comfortable, first of all. And then just rock side to side. Now this one really gets rid of those pains down the side of your leg, you know, the bursitis that you get in the side here when you can't sleep at night on it. Okay, so that one's that one. And it's not hard. You can do it. Anybody can do it. Okay? All right, I'm not allowed to carry on. So put the legs down, take it up, and I'm done.
I love, absolutely love the passion that amazing, contagious. So look, I'm doing really well with the chin one. I don't have to move, but anyway. Okay, so we've got a few questions. Let's just see, let me just see, there was one from the chat, a question for both. This first question is for Mark. Is it true that drinking mineral water is bad for your bones?
No, that's not true. Mineral water is absolutely fine for your bones. Actually, there isn't really a big difference between mineral water and plain water. There's a misconception or an old wives' tale that says that mineral water contains large amounts of sodium, increased blood pressure and other things. There's very little sodium inside mineral water. It's a very dilute source of sodium. It's not going to increase anyone's blood pressure. It's really a personal preference. The dentists disagree, and the dentist will tell you that having a lot of sparkling water, soda water, mineral water, quite similar, might not be great on one's teeth. So again, speak to your local dentist about that. But from a nutritional point of view, they essentially are on a par with each other. There's certainly nothing unhealthy about having mineral water.
Okay. I'm just going to go see if anyone wants to put their hand up to ask Mark a question, because I've got some for Lisa as well. Does anyone else want, would anyone, Laser, you'd like to ask Mark a question? Laser, unmute yourself. No, you still mute. Can we unmute Laser? Yep, there we go.
Hi, Mark. What is the safe level of sodium chloride salt in a meal that you buy?
Yeah, well, the technical answer to your question, I'll just repeat the question for everyone. What's the safe amount of sodium chloride or salt? Let's focus on the actual element sodium in a meal that you buy. Well, the technical answer is that ideally, for a meal to be considered lowish in sodium, it needs to have less than 120 milligrams of sodium per 100 gram of food product. But you must know it's very, very difficult to find a lot of tasty food that matches that criteria. Okay, it's extremely difficult, number one. Number two, you must remember that sodium is not a bad thing. Salt is something that's critical. We all need to have salt in our diet. I think many people worry a little bit too much about salt. Number three, there are people with blood pressure that are salt sensitive, hypertensives. They have hypertension, high blood pressure that responds to a high salt diet and responds well to a low salt diet. But you must know that there are many individuals with high blood pressure that are not salt sensitive, meaning the amount of salt in their diet actually doesn't have a very significant bearing. Now, the cardiologists, if there's a cardiologist in the audience, they might argue on this one a little bit. And I know the cardiologists like everyone to have a relatively low sodium diet. And there are instances where we do need to keep salt very, very low, which we won't get into now. But when it comes to general health, I do wonder whether we're a little bit overly concerned about our sodium intake. But just to clarify, if you've been advised by a physician, for instance, to follow a low sodium diet, when you're looking at a processed product, try pick something with less than 120 milligrams per 100 grams.
Excellent. Just is a question, I think is a question for Lisa. I've got one to read. Anyone else have a question for Lisa? Just put up your hand and I will, otherwise I'll read the one that I've got. Okay, Lisa, there was a question for you. How do you adapt, or would you be able to do some of those exercises if you have scoliosis or a condition of the back? Could you still do most of those things that you've demonstrated, or would you have to be given that to those people, you know, very specific treatment?
Am I on? Yeah, no, 100%. All those ones I gave, you can do. No problem with that. There's everything I gave there, you should be totally fine to do, unless there's a severe sharp pain. What I would suggest is when you do any exercise, you initially, sometimes people go, oh, this feels a bit sore. This doesn't feel great. And then if something improves, you know you're on the right track, okay? Nobody's body has absolutely zero pain. It's not possible. So sometimes when I move, the first few movements are stiff, sore. As I get into the movement, I feel better. You need to listen, be in touch with your body and listen to what it feels like. But everything I gave you there today is totally safe with scoliosis.
Fantastic. I think we've got time for one more question, because I know that anybody, I'm trying to scroll through all the pages.
Jackie, I'll just answer one quick question, because my mommy, Lisa, my mom's in the audience as well.
See her there.
She got up very, very early in the morning to watch me, and it's lovely to have my mom watching. And she's got special access. She sent me a message a moment ago, and the question was, how much fluid, how much water should one actually drink in a day? I'll see my dad's come into the picture as well. That's lovely. And the answer is, actually, it's a very difficult answer. Like I said, what's most important is that fluid intake. Lisa, I'm sure you'll agree, because it's really important also from a hydration, from a muscular point of view as well. One needs to hydrate throughout the day. That's really that's the key. Now, to answer the question about how much, I usually say to people, if you're not drinking a lot of water, if you feel that you're not consuming adequate water, you up it by 500 ml. You up it by half a liter. In other words, whatever you're drinking at the moment, take it up by 2 glasses. Now, no, that's not the answer that people are necessarily looking for. People want to know, is it 2 liters, 2.5, 1.75, 1.5? The answer is, we don't know. What we do know is, if someone's not feeling adequately hydrated, increasing their fluid intake by 2 glasses makes a significant difference. Okay, so that's an answer from my mommy. But any other questions from anyone else?
I think that's pretty much sums it up. I just want to say, Lisa, if people want to get hold of those elastic, I will get in touch with you. They can message.
I'll tell you where to get it. I'll send a link. Yeah.
Send a link. And every single JNForever event is recorded and is available. When we send out next week's events, you will see it at the bottom. Every single event that we've done since March, it has been recorded. You can always go back and you can look at those exercises.
Oh, that's handy.
Mark 7 points again, because it's very, very hard to remember everything that we learn every single week. So I will now hand over to the chair of our JNForever group, Bella Ehrlicht. Bella, and she will do the vote of thanks. Where is the lovely Bella?
I'm here. Okay. Mark and Lisa, that was just sensational. We're all sitting at home, and I don't know about you, but we're on WhatsApp links, and everybody sends jokes about what we should be eating and make friends with your refrigerator. Don't forget to go for a walk. It's there. It's on our minds all the time. So, Mark, your 7 steps, we've certainly got the time to study it, think about it, and implement it. And Lisa, I don't know who was more impressive, you or your mum at 80. How amazing. I would like to know how to hook into your sessions and try to get halfway to where your mother is. So by the time I'm 80, I can sit on the floor and get up without any aches or pains.
Yeah,
that would be
exactly.
Thank you for sharing your expertise and your wealth of knowledge. and enriching our days in our lockdown. Thank you so much from all of us at JNF.
Thank you for having us.
And we will be up and running again next week. We'll have another amazing speaker. I want to once again thank you so much, Mark, Lisa, for your time, for your expertise, for your effort. And I think that everybody got a lot out of this. I've been getting fantastic comments on the screen. Some people didn't ask questions, but they've just written wonderful, fantastic. We've learned a lot. So you have done a huge mitzvah for us today. Thank you very, very much. And we will see you all again next week.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Be well.